Can you actually stop someone from falling out of love? I think that's one of the scariest questions you can ask yourself because nobody starts a relationship expecting it to end. You don't go on your first date thinking, I can't wait until we stop talking. And if you do, that's kind of messed up. You also don't think, I can't wait until we stop making time for each other. I can't wait until we slowly become strangers living in the same house. That's just never how it starts. How do good relationships become shit ones, the ones all your friends keep begging for to end? I didn't really have an answer until I started working as a nurse. One thing nursing gave me that I never expected had nothing to do with medicine. It was conversations. Conversations with people in their 80s, some in their 90s. People who'd been married for 50, 60, some over 70 years. And after hearing enough of those conversations, I started noticing something common between them. None of them talked about finding the perfect partner. None of them talked about soulmates or the butterflies. They talked about choosing the same person again and again and again. The honeymoon phase isn't the relationship. I think one of the biggest lies we've been sold is that love is supposed to feel exciting forever. Hollywood always ends its movies with the first kiss, the wedding, the proposal. Nobody makes a movie about doing laundry together on a Wednesday night. Nobody wants to show the boring parts. Our collective ADHD wouldn't want to look at it. But that's where almost every relationship spends most of its life. Eventually, the butterflies calm down, you order the coffee without thinking, you started wearing hoodies to your dates, and your conversations are more about groceries, bills, and whose turn it is to clean. And that's usually the point where people panic. They say the spark is gone. Maybe we've fallen out of love. Maybe you have, and it's possible, but probably not. I don't think the honeymoon phase ending means the relationship is ending. I think it's the point where the real relationship finally begins. Because up until then, everything came naturally because everything was new, and there's novelty in that. After that, you actually have to appreciate and choose each other. There was this piece of advice that has stuck with me. There was one gentleman I looked after who had been married for over 60 years. I asked him what his secret was. I expected some profound answer like communication, respect, trust. He smiled and said, Son, we never stopped dating. At first, I almost laughed. It sounded way too simple. But the longer I've thought about it, the more I think that's exactly why they lasted. Somewhere along the way, people just stopped trying. Not because they don't care, but because life just gets busier. Work happens, kids happen, bills happen. You just learn to assume they already know you love them. So you stopped saying it. You stopped organizing date nights, you stopped asking questions, and you stopped holding hands. Not because anything terrible happened, but because nothing happened. Or at least nothing new. And I honestly think most relationships don't end because of one massive mistake, but of course many do. I think most relationships slowly starve, not from disaster, but from neglect. Don't stop choosing them if you think they're the one. I think commitment and obligation sound similar, but they feel completely different. Commitment says I choose you, obligation says I have to. Every long relationship reaches a point where choosing takes effort, and that's normal. The people I met who stayed married for decades didn't pretend every day was easy. Some of them openly admitted there were seasons where they didn't even particularly like each other. And I'll say that they admit they argued a lot, and life got very hard for a lot of them. Money became a big stressor, and children made things a lot more complicated. But they never stopped choosing each other. Don't stop dating them. Don't stop asking them about their day. Don't stop learning about them. People change over time. The person you're dating today won't be exactly the same person 10 years from now, at least hopefully. And neither will you. You should grow together and not separately. If they love reading, read with them before bed. If they're passionate about the gym, train with them. If they love painting, sit beside them while they paint. You don't have to love each other's hobbies. I'm not saying that. But caring about the things that make them come alive, that's caring about them too. It's love through appreciation. Love is built through the small things. Social media teaches us that relationships are held together by the big moments. The proposal, the anniversary, or the expensive holidays. Now I think they're held together by Tuesday afternoons, making them breakfast and doing laundry. Putting your phone away when they're talking and apologizing before your ego gets involved. Giving them a hug when they've had a rough day, listening without trying to solve everything. They're tiny things and almost forgettable on their own, but they compound, just like neglect compounds. One thoughtful action probably won't save a relationship. Just leaving one date night probably won't ruin it either. But doing either consistently for years, and you'll end up somewhere completely different. There's an idea that love is a verb, and I've talked about this before, but years after having that conversation with that patient, I heard Simon Sinek tell a story. A friend asked him, "How do I love my wife again?" Simon Sinek answered, "Love her." At first, it sounded like he misunderstood the question, but I really don't think he did. I think he understood it perfectly because love isn't something you sit around waiting to feel. It's something you do. You make breakfast, you organize the date, you apologize, forgive, show up, make time, and choose them. One thing I noticed from people who had spent 50 or 60 years together was that none of them talked about staying in love. They talked about staying committed to loving each other. Those are two different things. One is a feeling, the other is a decision. Feelings come and go, but decisions build life. I would just like to say this. I don't think the goal of a relationship is to never argue. That's stupid, and you should argue, and you should compromise. Or to never get bored, because you're gonna have a lot of boring seasons together if you're with each other long enough. Or to somehow keep butterflies alive forever. Because I'll remind you, butterflies tend to only live for 4 weeks. I think the goal is much simpler. Give each other reasons to stay every day. Not because you're afraid they'll leave, but because that's what love looks like. It's built quietly, it's in conversations and forgiveness, shared dinners on ordinary Tuesdays. And if you've chosen someone who's willing to do the same for you, I honestly think that's about as close to the one as any of us will ever find. But there's another conversation that eventually comes up, because sometimes you both keep trying, you both keep showing up, and despite all of that, something still doesn't feel right. So how do you know whether you've simply reached a difficult season or whether you've genuinely outgrown each other? That's a very difficult question, and it's the one we'll talk about next.